A prominent 18th century British scholar, a religious leader known as a lover of civil and religious liberty, made this striking statement. Quote, "Authority is the greatest and most irreconcilable enemy to truth and argument that this world ever furnished. All the sophistry, all the color of plausibility, the artifice and cunning of the subtlest disputer in the world may be laid open and turned to the advantage of that very truth which they are designed to hide. But against authority there is no defense." Before we continue, there's something that needs to be understood, and that is that no matter how much evidence may be supplied, no matter how much scriptural testimony may be presented, no matter how much logic may be brought to bear on the points discussed in this video, these may all be rejected and discarded by those who place a particular human religious authority as their guide, as the determiner of truth. In fact, with the vast majority of Jehovah's Witnesses, all such evidence and scriptural testimony will be rejected before it's even heard, because authority has decreed for them that they should reject it. And so those who are under this authority are consequently robbed of the freedom to decide for themselves whether the information is factual or false, beneficial or detrimental. And the same is true of anyone who submits to any human religious authority as their supreme arbiter of right and wrong. If they choose to allow that authority to decide for them, speak for them, think for them, then any alternative argument or evidence has no hope of a fair hearing. Because, like Benjamin Hoddley said, against authority there is no defense. The authority has no need to respond, no need to refute, or even to consider the evidence presented. It simply condemns. I believe this is the basic issue, and unless it is first understood, little else can be understood. If you think about it, men can really make no greater claim to authority than to claim to speak for God. Even more than that, to claim to be God's sole channel of communication to all mankind. What greater authority claim could there be than that? But to occupy such a position would be a pretty awesome responsibility, wouldn't it? And you would think that it should call for the greatest amount of humility on the part of imperfect humans if they were in fact assigned to fill that role. A fitting analogy might be that of a slave sent forth by a king to deliver a proclamation. If that slave were impressed with his own importance and lacking humility, the messenger might feel free to add to the message or make adjustments, while at the same time insisting that all hearers should accept whatever he presented as a bona fide royal order. And if people questioned him on certain points, well, he might become resentful. He might seek to awe them with his royal backing in order to override any doubts about the authenticity of his statements. But by contrast, a truly humble messenger would scrupulously avoid any alteration of what came from the royal source. He wouldn't become resentful if asked for proof of full authenticity for what he said. And he wouldn't criticize if some took steps to confirm that the message he presented was delivered just as given, free from embroidery or any changes. Rather than viewing such investigation as an abusive lack of respect for himself, the mere slave, he would accept it. He would even welcome it as evidence that the inquirer's concern and deep respect for the will of the master is the overriding factor. Now, the WatchTower Society repeatedly states that it has a message of life and death importance, and the organization claims its message has been sent by God, the supreme sovereign for all mankind, and the ultimate consequence for disobedience is destruction. That's pretty serious. Now, other religions take a similar position. Jehovah's Witnesses are not unique in this. But surely any claim of such a magnitude should never go untested. In fact, the greatness of the claim calls for not less, but more caution, more careful testing. Simple respect for God should move us, actually compel us, to make sure that the message is genuinely His, free from additions or alterations. In fact, the deeper our respect for God, the more conscientious our effort should be in testing.